Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to East Central Missouri and the world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast, podcast number 141. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the evening of Wednesday, September the 25th, from the James Strong Show studio in Western St. Charles County. Special podcast today. We have guests in the studio, guests plural. Only two of them are going to speak, though. There's me. There's my friend Denny Huff. You probably heard of him on the radio, on his podcasts, all kinds of different places. His friend Sounder and his friend Angel. Now, Sounder and Angel aren't going to be speaking. That's because Angel is shy and Sounder is a dog. So, Denny, this is just you and me, man, because we're the only ones who want to or can speak. How's that? How you been?
Doing good.
You look good.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. I'm trying to keep in shape, and as I told you before we started recording here, I stopped smoking, quit smoking, went cold turkey with it about 3.5 years ago, and in the process, gained about 45 pounds. And
well, congratulations. That means you're doing it right.
Well, I'm in the process of losing that. I've been on diet now for 2 weeks and been working out at the gym. Angel is forcing me to go to the gym and cracking the whip on me and making me work out. And I've lost, in the first week, I lost 4 pounds. So
that's good.
I'm going to weigh in on Friday morning and just see how I did the second week.
Very good.
But I feel better. I really do. Even just a week and a half working out, I feel better.
And you look good.
Well, good. Thanks.
And you're still working.
I am.
And you're not a woman, so I can ask the question. How old are you now, Denny?
I turned 70 last month.
Still 70 and working full-time.
Yeah.
You're the head honcho at Gateway for the Blind.
That is correct.
Yes. You do a radio show. You do a podcast. What else are you doing with your time?
Well, I president of the board of the Missouri Council of the Blind thrift store in Springfield, Missouri. We have 2 stores down there, one in North Springfield, one in South Springfield, and that requires a little bit of time. Also vice president of the Heartland Independent Living Center. That's in Owensville, Missouri. We meet at least once a month for a board meeting or whatever and kind of keep that place going. They work with the disabled, serving them and just doing a lot of different things, services for the disabled community. Then I'm also president of the St. Charles County Council of the Blind, and just work with them on social things, providing services for the blind in the St. Charles area, and just a lot of different things like that. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. And no wonder I'm tired all the time.
and you still find time to go to the gym. Very good.
Yeah. We'll probably hit the gym after we leave here. So.
Very good. Yeah. So all you slackers out there who say, well, I'm just too tired to work 40 hours a week. Then he's 70 years old, doing umpteen bajillion jobs. And for those of you who don't know him, he's blind. And Sounder is seeing eye dog the right term?
That's one of the correct terms, guide dog. I guess a generic term for all the different schools. There's a seeing eye school, there's a guide dog school, there's a pilot dog school, a leader dog school. So the correct generic term would be a dog guide.
A dog guide. Okay, yeah. Okay. And what kind of a dog is Sounder?
Sounder is a cross between a Labrador and a Golden.
Very good.
His daddy was a black lab and mama was a golden, and he turned out more like the mama.
She looks very golden, and he's taking a nap right now, or at least resting, it looks like. Taking it easy. You must have run him hard today.
Well, James, I tell you, he's my 5th dog, and he has been the top dog that I've ever had. He's so obedient. He loves to learn different things. He's easy to train. He's just an incredible dog. He really is. And this is one of the reasons I could get up from here, go downstairs, and be gone for a half hour, come back, and he would still be laying here.
Really?
Yeah. I do that in the doctor's office. Go into their waiting room, slide him underneath the chair I'm sitting on, go in to visit the doctor, leave him there, come back out, and he's still laying there.
Wow.
just never had a dog like that. I really haven't. So.
And how old is he?
He'll be 4 in about a week, I guess, the 29th.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, congratulations on Sounder.
Yeah, he's great.
All these jobs you have, the Gateway for the Blind, your podcasts, all the boards that you sit on, and that's not the type of work you did all along. I mean, before you lost your sight, I don't want to tell the whole story, but in an industrial accident, you didn't do that type of work.
No, I didn't.
Tell the story if you could. 'Cause to me, it's an amazing story about how you came from where you were to where you are.
Well, I was a parts manager at a GMC truck company in St. Clair, Missouri, and it was a small-time operation, but it was a job, and I was working one night late for a friend of mine. He had some tires that he needed fixed and had to put a starter on his truck, and we did all that, and the last thing we were working on was a big tractor tire, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was a Thursday morning, April the 11th, 1974, and airing up the tire, he was standing there by me. I had 1 foot on the tire. I was knelt over the tire, and we're not sure what happened, but the tire exploded. And it threw me back about 20 feet, and, of course, it knocked him down. He woke up, thought somebody had dropped a bomb on the building, and he crawled up underneath the pickup to get better cover there in the garage. And when he realized what had happened, he got up, and his foot was injured, his leg, and he hobbled over and found me. I was on my face, laying flat on the floor. He turned me over, and which probably saved my life because my face was just, it was really messed up, James, what I hear. He told me later, he said he took one look at me, and he said, "You don't deserve to live just looking like you do." I mean, it ripped my face open. My eyes swelled up bigger than golf balls, and it was just broke my left arm completely in half, like I had 2 elbows there. And he went over and called the, at that time, back in 74, we didn't have Arch or anything like that. He finally found a number for the weigh station up the road from where this truck company was, and called there, and they sent a state patrolman down, and the state patrolman called the ambulance and got me to the hospital in Washington at St. Francis Hospital it was at that time. The Dr. Post Jr., tried to clean me up. My family was there at the hospital already, and they heard me screaming.
By this time, you're conscious then, right?
No, I'm not conscious.
You're still unconscious.
I'm still unconscious. But they did hear me screaming, thought that they were trying to set my arm because they knew my arm was badly broken, but they were only trying to open my eyes to see what kind of damage was done to them. And, of course, like I said, the eyes were swollen up so big that they couldn't get them open. They put me in an ambulance, sent me down to St. John's in Creve Coeur. I had 2 eye doctors that were brothers, Dr. Tom and Harry Eggleston. They worked on me, started at 5 o'clock in the morning, and worked on me till 7 o'clock that night for 14 hours. They worked side by side, opening my eyes and trying to salvage anything they could. But when they came back out, they told my family that I would probably would never be able to see again, and even if I survived, that I would probably have brain damage. And, of course, I tell everybody, I survived. So. But hopefully I didn't have too bad at brain damage. But I was unconscious for 5 days. And they did plastic surgery on my face. They had to use a high school picture of me, senior picture, to see what I used to look like and to put me back together. And, of course, the eyes are gone. I mean, I still have my eyes, but, the sight is gone. When I woke up 5 days later, I just had this funny feeling that I couldn't see. I had bandages on my eyes, but still, I just felt like I couldn't see. And the doctor came in, the whole family was there, and some friends, and he came in, and I said, Doc, I got a funny feeling I can't see. And he said, well, I'm glad nobody had to tell you. And I said, how bad is it? And he said, well, we don't give you any chance in your right eye and maybe a 5% chance in your left eye. And so he took the bandages off, and of course I didn't see any light at all with the light he was shining in my eyes. But, James, thing about it is, when I found that out, God just put a peace over me. I didn't go through any bitterness, no anger, no depression. I was, even right then, I was ready to accept the challenge of being blind. I didn't know how to be blind. I've never, never blind before. I didn't know anybody that was blind. But I was, it's just God gave me a lot of grace to accept what had happened to me. And I didn't, go into depression because I know my family was depressed enough for me.
Sure.
And trying to be strong for them. And I think that really helped. My wife at that time was 8 months pregnant with our first baby, and they made arrangements for her to deliver at the hospital. And they said I would be. This was in April. They said I'd be in there for probably 5 or 6 months, recuperating. 2 weeks to the day, I walked out of the hospital.
Really?
Alone. Yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Unbelievable.
It was. The doctor's still amazed at that, and I'm amazed at it. But I got home, and I was ready to learn. Rehab services for the blind out of St. Louis came out, started teaching me Braille. Henry Hand, mobility instructor, came out, started teaching me how to use a cane. And that was another story in itself. Some of the incidents that happened with the cane. Henry said, the first time it happened, I lost my cane, tripped over a water cover, and he said, that you did everything right, but that probably would never happen again in a million years. And the next thing happened, I was crossing the same day, just a couple of blocks later, crossing the street, and got my cane in front of a tire of a car that was sitting at the intersection. He rolled over the end of it and flipped it out of my hand, and I stand out in the middle of the street with no cane, no idea where to go, and he come and got me and took me over. He said, that probably would never happen again in a million years. And I said, let's talk about a dog. So that's when I decided to go get a guide dog. But they worked with me. I really didn't have any other course of employment or anything. At that time, in 1974, there was very little adaptive technology, if anything.
Well, sure, and you were a blue collar guy. You weren't
right.
You weren't going to go back to the shop and change tires anymore.
No, and I sat around. Well, I didn't really sit around. For maybe 6-7 months I did, but boy, that got old.
Well, sure.
And so I started a gospel singing group, and we got together once a week and practiced, and then we started going out on the road singing, and that took me, for several years. Then I got a job with a speaker out of Houston, Texas, David Stockwell. He was an offensive guard for Rice University, and he hired me as his advance man. He would go to high schools and do assembly programs, motivational assembly programs, and I was the guy that would go and book him, travel before him, and go into these schools and talk to the principals. And we covered the Midwest and did pretty good with him. I did that for several years. And then in 1995, I got my first computer, and I just fell in love with it, James. I really did. I spent 7 days a week, 24 hours a day on that computer, learning how to use it. That was back when we had DOS.
Okay.
And
and I have to ask that question. And back then, computers were very. You could do a lot with them, but not compared to what you can do with them today.
That is correct.
And you had the hotkeys, and you had macros and things like that with DOS. But how did you learn something like that? I mean, because sure, you learn the keyboard, but you don't know if you've made a mistake or not.
Well, it had a program installed on it called at that time it's called Vocalize, and it would repeat to you in synthesized speech what you were typing, and there were different commands that you could use to read what was on the screen. And of course, as you mentioned, there were hotkeys, things